Okay, here we go. Check, 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 check. All right. There we go. Now let's test my audio through the stream. Oh, checking myself. I gotta turn that off because you can hear it in the background. My microphone's not working right today. Very frustrating. Okay. All right, back to mute myself. Bye. Mic on here so that everybody can hear me. And then I need to get out of the presentation here. There we go. Okay. Sorry, folks. Newfangled technology stuff that I'm working with here. But anyways, welcome to the December Lunch and Learn presentation for the WiscWeb service. For those of you who don't know my voice, I'm Matt Goins with the team. I wear many hats with the team, so not a gigantic long introduction of myself. So welcome to the Lunch and Learn. We're going to talk about several things today. I sent out the agenda earlier, but we have some conversations about the user experience support that you have here on campus and some of the options you have for guidance and consultation there. We'll have Maria Dahman joining us here in a second. I'm going to talk a little bit about community of practices that we have here on campus and just to kind of encourage some of the things that they do, and some of that is also involved with the conversation that Maria will be having. We'll talk a little bit about the support times coming up, and then just a quick update / I guess demo of some plugin updates that we did to events calendar recently, just so you all can experience that. So without further ado, I will bring in Maria Dahman, who is with I'll let her do a proper introduction of herself, but she's with the Center for User Experience. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, the Center for User Experience is a group that we have done quite a few collaborations with, and I'm always eager to do more because of the fact that we can provide good guidance to all of you on essentially how to build better web pages, but also digital accessibility, content strategy, user testing. A couple years ago, Maria did a presentation on campus for us that had to do entirely with user testing, and it was one of the, though low attended, I feel like user testing is one of the higher um, uh, importance things that you can do to really improve your website and engage your audiences as well. So again, without further ado, I will yield the floor to Maria, and then as she begins talking, I'm going to try and figure out my screen stuff here. So Maria, hello.
Hello, thank you so much, Matt and Jenna. I'm happy to be here. Yes, my name is Maria Damon. I work as a user experience architect in the Center for User Experience. We're a group within the Division of Information Technology, and we're here to help. So I want to talk to you a little bit about how we can help. Um, Today, we're going to give just a brief overview of UX. I'm not going to assume that everyone knows what it is. It's also pretty complex. I don't think my mom and dad actually really know what it is that I do, but I'm going to do my best to describe UX. Um, I also want to talk about some basic areas for improvement that we've noticed on WiscWeb sites at the UW. So some things that maybe can be helpful for you. We'll go over it very briefly. So I don't want to promise that you'll be able to act on it immediately, but I would like to at least give you some resources and some ideas. And then, as Matt mentioned, how we at the Center for UX can help. So here's a brief UX overview. At the top, we have a user interface that's very cute, some woodland creature with pointy ears that's shaped as a coffee mug. And then on the bottom, you see the UX, the user experience. In practice, the pointy little ears poke you in the eye. Nice metaphor for websites that we make that are very sweet and cute and poke our users in the eye. For the purposes of this talk, I'm going to describe UX as tools or processes to improve some interaction between a human and a technology. Matt mentioned a few of them already, content strategy, user testing, prototyping. We have a lot of tricks up our sleeves, but we're going to talk generally about UX as something to improve a human interaction with technology. So at UW, we've seen some common problems, and I wanted to share them with you. First is ableism and language that's just not written for the web, too many areas of focus, poor heading structure, and a lack of basic accessibility review. I'm going to go over each of these briefly. So ableism is discrimination in favor of able-bodied people, and we do it unintentionally most of the time. We can avoid ableism by using plain language. Inclusive language and plain language is a crucial part of accessibility. Accessibility also being a crucial part of making a good interaction between a human and a technology. Plainlanguage.gov is a great resource to get started with understanding all of the facets of plain language. And something I use a lot is called the Hemingway app, which I'll just pull it up here. You can see you paste in some text and it gives you on the right here the grade level. This is a grade 6, which is good readability. You typically, I typically advise not writing above a grade 9 or grade 8 level. This also tells you how you might simplify your work. So making sentences that are compound, complex, simple sentences, and where you might have better word choices that are more plain language. We also see ableism through exclusion, and again, mostly unintentional. One very easy aphorism that we use is for everything that you hear, you should be able to see, and everything that you see, you should be able to hear. And so what that means is if you have text, it should be able to be accessed by a screen reader so that you can hear it if you can't see. And everything that you can see, you should be able to hear. So I think I got that reversed, sorry. So if you have a video, you obviously want to have captions for the video. And examples of text that cannot be heard is if it's in an image, for example, then a screen reader can't access that image. Another way to help is to offer some contact with an invitation to reach out. So for an example, if you encounter an accessibility barrier, please contact whoever you think would be best, a communication specialist, or if you happen to have a developer who works on it, and then give an email address or some contact. You can learn more. We have a Canvas course that our accessibility program lead, Sandy Rondokowski, created called Disability and Awareness Training. disability and ableism awareness training. I have the link to the Canvas course here in this, and I'll give all these links to Matt at the end so that we can have some shared
Yeah,
resources for
I
that.
wanted to I wanted to just jump in too because when you started this by talking about avoid ableism by using plain language is a very a key topic when it comes to writing for the web specifically, and I wanted to point out that here on campus, the Human Resources Office hr.wisc.edu, they also offer a course on writing for plain language. And I'll try and get that link into, or Jenna, if you could throw that link into the chat since my screen.
Already done.
Thank you very much.
Excellent.
Yeah, we talked about this last at the last design community presentation as well, but I really do want to make sure that people are aware of it. Is the fact that similarly to avoiding ableism by using plain language, you want to avoid alienating audiences as well by writing in a way that they may not be able to understand in general. So, writing better for multiple audiences will help increase your usability, the usability of your site. So, okay, I tap out. Back to you, Maria.
No, it's great. It's a great point. And on campus, I hear sometimes, well, all of our readers have masters or PhD, but when you're typically doing something on the web, you're not there to experience great literature. You're there to get something done. And so it doesn't help anyone. I mean, I always tell people to think about a 3-year-old pulling on your sleeve as you're trying to get through something on a web page, because that is often the case. Another challenge that we see is too many areas of focus. Like, it's not clear what the main calls to action are on a page. And so one remedy for that, Matt mentioned the user testing, right? So instead ask, who are the users and what are the most important things that the users want to do? And consider talking to users for insights about that, because we can make assumptions about what the users think are the most important things to do, but it's good to verify those. Another way to verify that is to talk to people who answer front desk calls, or like any sort of help desk tickets or something like that. What are common questions that people have? Honestly, a lot of times it's like, what are the hours for this facility? So making sure that the things that most users are commonly looking for are front and center. Another challenge is poor heading structure. So a way that I like to describe, so you'll see like H1, H2, H3, imagine that the headings on a web page are like an outline, or they're a table of contents in a book. And so users of screen readers will sometimes skim those headings to understand a page and then decide if they want to read it. And so an example to help kind of understand this better, here's an outline of a presentation that I gave a couple years ago. So it's just, it doesn't have any structure. You can't tell what's important or what you might want to look at. But if I simply created some so this is an H1, my presentation, H2, this is another H2, another H2, and then I think this is an H3 because there's 3 steps. So now you kind of get a sense of what you might actually look at, and you can it helps you to understand the information better. And that's what an heading structure does for non-sighted users who are using a screen reader. Another common challenge, lack of a basic accessibility review. I've spoken to a number of other professionals at other universities and asked them what they tend to see as the challenges, and it's the same basic things. Contrast errors, so that there's not enough contrast between the letters that you're supposed to be reading and the background. The lack of alternative text on images, which WiscWeb sets us up nicely for, but if you forget to do it, it doesn't help. And then poor heading structures, which we went through before. These errors can be caught with an automated web accessibility tool. It's free, it's called Wave. And I think Matt might go through some of the Wave functionality with you, but essentially, if you plop in a web page address here, it will give you a list of errors, and those contrast and heading and other errors like that are what you're going to find, and very low hanging fruit. Oh, sure. I mean, I was talking about in other sessions,
Oh,
but
yes.
I wasn't
In
sure.
yes. In the future, we may do a little bit of demo of it. I need to run down because the last accessibility community of practice meeting, they actually did demo some of this. So I'm trying to find if there is a video available of some of that information. Um, but uh, but there are several resources out there for um, uh, accessibility monitoring on your pages and within your site. Wave is just the, Wave is probably the most common and the easiest to access because it is something that is a part of. You can add a plugin for it or an extension for it, things of that nature. So
Yeah.
as Maria is demoing there.
Yeah, so it looks like, and it's been a while since we've run it on our personal page for the Center for User Experience, and it looks like we have a couple of contrast errors. So this is what the page will look like. If you go to details, it'll show you where the, where? I wonder if because I'm presenting or I don't know. Typically you can click on this and then it'll show you where on the page it is that you're seeing the low contrast. This is a fun thing with live demos, right?
Yeah, no. So with that one, if you go back to it, the problem that it's giving you right now is it's the overlay of the notification at the bottom.
Oh, the
And so it's
cookies.
yeah, it has taken over the whole screen, so you can't, because it is updating in the background. You can see it like moving when you click on the various buttons
Uh,
or the various icons on the left, except it can't get away from the got it part of that whole presentation.
okay. Well, to give you a sense of how you might look at it, and again, you're looking at the headings, the contrast errors, and the alt text, and it will tell you if you're missing alt text. It will tell you if your heading is inappropriate, and it'll tell you if your contrast errors or if there are contrast errors. So Matt, I capped to the 20 minutes that you mentioned would be a good amount of time. I just wanted to talk a little bit about how the Center for UX might help. So we are developing a 90-minute workshop that will have some of this content more fleshed out, obviously. Make your best website is what we're calling it. And those are beginning in February. Matt has also mentioned the design community. That's a regularly meeting community that talks about different aspects of user experience. We also have a free high-level accessibility review that we can do. So Wave is free. You do one page at a time with Wave, however, and we have a tool that we subscribe to called Rocket Validator, which will do many pages so that you can get a better sense of your overall UX, or sorry, overall accessibility review of your pages. We also have the ableism and disability awareness training that I mentioned earlier, which is a Canvas course that you can go at your own pace. And we've developed, Sandy Randolkowski and Adam Hilsmeyer have developed a number of accessibility guides. So Make It Accessible is the page, but then there's things about like creating accessible conferences and images and how to create, it's just a very rich resource for anything that you might have questions about related to creating accessible content. Going back to you, Matt. Okay,
Back to
any
me. Okay.
questions
Well,
or
hi.
thoughts?
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions or anything else you'd like to, I'm gonna swap the scene so you don't see Maria keep bouncing between her things. Any questions that she might have? I do want to point out that the I lost my thought as I'm tinkering around with all of this here. The user experience, the Center for User Experience, they have, as Maria was pointing out, a number of services that they provide. I'm going to grab the site. I'm gonna grab links. So the email just came in from, or sorry, the message just came in. My volume is low. No one ever tells me that my volume is low. That is strange. I apologize. Like I said, things are happening with this whole presentation thing that maybe stuff isn't working as tip top as I would like it. So I need to work on that stuff. We will put some links into the chat there. I haven't been able to because I wanted to make sure that everybody could see Maria's screen as she was presenting. Center for User Experience, make sure that you reach out to those folks because of the fact that they just have a lot of varied expertise in the various areas of web design, be it accessibility, which we've talked about, be it user research, be it content strategy, SEO type stuff. It would benefit you greatly to make use of some of these services. And but I want to, I guess, and Maria, you can also chime in on this as well. I give a lot of accessibility and content strategy conversation whenever I meet with people. I know Jenna has talked about it when she meets with people. I've listened to the UX folks talk about it as well. At the end of the day, though, as much as I love to talk to you all about this stuff, none of it matters if you don't put it into practice. And that is the greatest hurdle I think that I see when it comes to any of this conversation, is it, you've been told it, but you have to put it into practice. And the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is the accessibility conversation and people putting alt text on their images. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest thing to miss. And so very many people that I have consultations with miss it. So you have to put it into practice. You have to emphasize it with yourself, with your other editors of your sites, and really lean into it. Lean into doing these types of things to make your site a more accessible, usable site. Let's see. Much better volume. Yeah, I pulled the microphone closer. I'm usually not worried about being loud. It's Friday's workshop, so I'll touch on the workshop a little bit later about what that's going to cover. Any other questions for Maria and the presentation? I will slop this back over to here. Let me transform, fit to screen. There we go. That should look better now for everybody once it updates there. Okay. So, yes, let me really quickly do this. All right, I'm going to mute. Maria, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. As I said, we do a lot of collaborations with the Center for User Experience, so don't worry. You will hear more about this and our collaborations in the future. So, thank
Matt,
you.
I dropped the links in the chat there. So there are a few links that are the Canvas course, a forum if you want to have a consultation with us, and a number. I think there are 4 total there. So
yes, I will grab these and put them in our YouTube chat in
perfect.
a second here. So okay, all right. So let's move on the agenda, and let's look over here. So to build on the conversation that we were just having, one of the things that I wanted to touch on was the design community, the UW design community, community of practice. We had a presentation with them this week. Maria, could you make note of and tell Adam that dissenter is spelled that way on the page? But it's spelled dissenter instead of December. Sorry. We talked about what goes on a homepage, strategies for creating a good homepage and what not to do with a homepage and things like that. So Jenna and myself chatted with Adam Hilsmeyer, who Maria mentioned earlier, and then also Laura Grady. And we had a lot. I mean, the session went long, honestly. We had to stop the recording at a certain point, and yet we still kept talking afterwards. It was a great conversation. Essentially, the presentation tomorrow is going to sort of build on what we talked about during this particular session and kind of hopefully show people how you can put some of the things that we talked about into place using the UW theme. So I have a page that I'm going to demo tomorrow, and then I will actually walk through how I've created it and some of the various strategies that I use when I am creating a web page, a homepage, and then kind of go into some of the other things to consider when you're either building or rebuilding a site. Some other strategies like that. So that's tomorrow's presentation. So, I mean, I will touch on a lot of the UX things that Maria was mentioning, but honestly, it's sometimes repetition is best. Hearing it multiple ways, multiple times might help it sink in. So, anyways, here's the link for the design community. I'm going to pop over to the chat here so I can start throwing some links into here. So here is the design community there. We also have the accessibility community of practice. I'm unaware of a site for them specifically yet, but if you wanted to join their mailing list, their Google group, I put that information in there as well. Again, the last time that group met, the conversation was around the various tools that you can use to check for accessibility on your site. There are a number of free tools out there to make use of, but again, at the end of the day, it's practice. You have to put it into practice. You can learn and know and be told all the things in the world, but if you're not putting it into practice, it doesn't benefit you as much as you might like from there. So just briefly wanted to touch on those and also, bring up the links for those. Last little bit before I go into a little bit of demonstration there is just to remind you all of the limited support times that we have coming up. Obviously, we're in holiday season. In a couple of weeks, it will be Christmas. Let's look at the old calendar on the screen here. So starting, honestly, the week of December 20th, we are going to have limited support within our team just because of vacations and things that are going to be happening during that week. And we won't be back up to full capacity probably until January 5th is when we're saying. I'm going to be back on January 3rd to hit some things, but honestly, that 2.5 week period, we're going to be lightly staffed. So any emergencies we will address and we'll be around for that. We're not at least I'm not going completely underground away from my email and disconnecting and all that stuff. But, timing of some of those support questions that come in might be a day or so before one of us would be able to get back to you from there. In light of that, also, we emailed out about this, but we're not launching any sites during that time frame because of the fact that it does take a number of people to do a number of different steps along that process. And, with the varying availability that we have, we just basically said, look, the last day that we're going to launch sites was going to be, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenna, but was it the 22nd was the last day, or the 20th was the last day that we were going to be?
17th, yeah.
Well, that was yes, you're right. So sorry. And then the last week was the time frame. Sorry, I was trying to think of the time frame.
Yeah, I think we left ourselves a little bit of a buffer in case there were any. We typically schedule 2 site launches a day, sometimes 3 if we have to, but that's to allow do-it-host masters to kind of have a little time to do what they need to do on their end and make sure everything's in place before we map things for folks. And so sometimes, if we had too many scheduled for the 17th, we pushed it out to the 20th. So you might, have a site in that case that might be launching that following week, but we weren't allowing site requests past, was it the 3rd, I think?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you so much, by the way, for those of you who were able to get them in before then. Super awesome. We were able to get things scheduled out. I think, because of your action, we were able to get people in on the days that they needed, and we should be all set for those launches. So very much appreciated. Thanks to all of you.
Okay, I am just quickly grabbing the links and throwing them into the chat. So apologies while I type and copy and paste. Okay, so I made sure I got all those links into the chat there for folks who might need them. Okay, so again, limited support. We'll be back the first week of January. We'll get back at you then. Hopefully nothing, we aren't doing any significant updates over the next couple of weeks, just to make sure that nothing unforeseen happens during that time frame. We're also going to be in a change freeze in Do It in general coming up until I think it's the first week of January, but then also the start of the semester we go into another change freeze. So our window for making updates anyway is kind of limited during this time frame, just because Do It as a whole doesn't want to do anything specific to our to anything on our servers or anything we host, just to make sure things don't break for people coming back to classes and to work during that time frame. Okay. So the last specific thing that I wanted to touch on is, in light of making changes and things of that nature, I wanted to demo for all of you some changes that have been happening with the events calendar. Some of you have been very aware of this because you have been reaching out to us, and also we have just noticed some new changes as well to the events calendar when we have been making these updates. So I pushed out an update to the events calendar last week, and it added some new things, some known, some unknown. The unknown part of it was that obviously links were looking very weird in the screens, and a lot of people reached out to us and let us know that links weren't looking as they were anticipating. And so we had our developer take a look at some things, and as a short-term fix, we put in this underline blue text as links. We just needed something to stand out as an actual link, because otherwise it was just the black text. The black text was linked. There was no way to identify that it was an actual linked item. So we put that into place. We're going to take a look at this a little bit more in the next month or so. I don't know what our time frame will be exactly, but we want to take a look at this a little bit more in depth to see what options we have for customizing the events calendar a little bit more. Obviously, you can see like the button's a little off, but again, we did this as a quick fix because of the way that the stylings of the events calendar had been changing. With that topic in mind of the stylings of the events calendar, for those of you who remember, last summer, I want to say last summer, maybe last spring, not 2021, but before then, like last fall 2020, events calendar started to make a lot of rumblings about the fact that they were going to be removing their legacy styles, their older version of the events calendar stylings. And that was going to actually happen this past August. Some things happened for them, and they pushed this out until, I think it's February right now. I haven't checked recently because, honestly, I just want us to start to put in place, the updated stylings anyway, so we don't have to worry about this happening for all of you guys. But with those new stylings that events calendar introduced, we found a bunch of errors on our server when we were using those styles that we had to troubleshoot. We had to update some files on our end, and we just had to make sure that everything would work correctly before we could allow audiences to, or users to, start using these new updated styles. So that being said, we have somewhat mostly fixed the problems that Events Calendar presents to us, although some new interesting things we're still looking into. But now you, as a site admin, you have the ability to update your events calendar to take advantage of this new style of the plugin itself, and some of the ways that the events now look. Again, much different than previously. So what you can do is, as an admin, you can go into events and go to your settings, and under display, under the display tab, there is a checkbox that says use updated calendar designs. So what you can do is you can check that box, save your changes, and your events will start looking like the newer version of the events calendar stylings. That's entirely up to you if you want to do that. Frankly, I find it to be a little nicer than the older versions. But I just want to encourage people to maybe take a look at this, because we're going to hit a certain point in the events calendar life cycle where the legacy styles, which is the older version, the older view of these, is going to be gone. And you're not going to have a choice. So give it a shot, take a look at it, start to tinker around with it. I think it looks okay with some of the, some of the ways that you can lay out your events. So, and again, I'll talk about this stuff tomorrow when I'm building out the homepage stuff. But give that a shot and see if you can tinker around with that. Another thing to note is with the new... No, they don't, Linda, because if I bounce over to WiscWeb, I think we have it in ours. I think we have the updated version in ours. This is how the newer versions look. So even the shortcodes will have some stylings applied to them. So like, for example, this is a shortcode right here, and this is a shortcode that's showing photo events. And then obviously here's the list events right here. So the new styles will be applied in the various views that you use, the various shortcodes that you use. It's just easier to demonstrate when looking at the full month, because the full month view looks, way different. But another thing to note is with this new style, there's a new button up here at the top. And let me zoom in just so you guys can see this a little bit better. But there's this new manager button up here at the top. So if you click on that, internally in your editing view, you get an option to add things on the fly using the month view. Or you could do a day view. Or you can do a list view. And this is internally, so you can kind of see what's going on internally as you're publishing these things. And for those of you who, like us, have lots of events, if you need to find one to edit and you prefer working out of a visual editor versus the list view, you can just type for an event. I think I deleted all of my other events when I was testing this out. Yeah, I deleted all my other events. So, but anyways, it presents a visual editor as opposed to the list editor. I don't like the word manager. Manager seems a little weird. Why not just say visual? But regardless, that is a new button that appears up there next to the add new button. And it just gives you another way to work with your events within the events calendar. So, any questions about that? Let me see here. Maria, if you are still listening in, somebody posted in the chat there, how do they go about getting added to the Canvas course? They clicked on the link and it said it had access denied.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know that. I thought it was open access. So
Okay.
if you could collect email addresses
Sure.
for folks that are interested, and I will
Yeah, I
send those
mean,
along.
yeah, honestly, folks, if you're interested, I'll put my email in the list. Most of you should know how to email me, but drop me an email. Let me know that you're interested in the course, and then we'll get you added. Let me think. Anything else from my notes? I did add a note at the bottom. Sorry, too many windows open. Got to get back to all the things. We along with other groups within Do It and specifically Web Platforms and Services, which is our parent department that WiscWeb exists out of. We're trying to do a little bit of surveying of our audiences, and you all being my primary audience. We're trying to gather that feedback from you all about just the web offerings, what works, what doesn't work, what else would you like to see, things like that. Again, I don't want to give you guys survey fatigue by asking a lot of questions, but I do think this would go a long way for our group overall, not just specifically to WiscWeb. If you could fill out that survey, that would be great. The Canvas course. Maria, can you just kind of give a quick overview of what the Canvas course was again? Somebody said they missed that part of the conversation.
Sure. The Canvas course is it's called Disability and Ableism Awareness. So it goes over the learning objectives, I should say. So increase awareness and understanding of disabilities, ableism or ability-based privilege, disability-related laws and UW-Madison policies, and then increase proficiency in dispelling common disability myths and stereotypes, identifying and navigating privilege, using inclusive language to contribute to a healthy university culture, locating and using accessibility and disability-related resources, and then understanding that accessibility is our shared university responsibility. Those are the learning objectives. So I've been through the course myself. It's a lot of nice videos and just good food for thought. And again, no one is intentionally ableist. It's not typically a matter of making fun of someone with disabilities, but it's like excluding inadvertently. So it sort of makes you aware of places where that might inadvertently happen.
Yeah, yeah. And as Jenna said in the chat, the course is an exceptional resource for just learning and just building your own awareness about it. Let's see, Sue, if we can add new events now to the calendar, could we set up a calendar for client site that is blank and they just add events as needed? I guess in general, Sue, I know how you work, and I know that you essentially request sites and build out sites for those who request it through you. You can add the events calendar is a plugin that you as an administrator can add to your own site. So if your users want a calendar that they can add events to, you just have to add the plugin to that particular site, and they can then add events as necessary. We get into the weirdness of, well, events can't be shared between sites. We know about that. We don't really have an answer for that. There's always the today.wisstudy.edu calendar for those types of events where you need to create one that could be consumed by many. But if I'm understanding your question correctly, you just set up the plugin for whomever needs it, and they can add events as they need to. let me see here. Lots of notes. I feel like we flew through faster than we were going to. I guess just general reminders. I put the IT, the design community, the accessibility community of practice. Always remember the WordPress community of practice group as well. Give them a plug. A lot of us are in there, myself and Jenna included. We usually will chat with folks. People will make suggestions, recommendations, things of that nature, ask questions, stuff like that. We have lots of conversations like that. I don't know. I'm looking at plugins. I'm looking at updating more plugins and trying to figure out what new things are there as well. So I don't know that we'll have much to talk about in January just yet. Jenna can correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm not sure if we will have a lunch and learn in January, because I don't think much is going to happen and change between now and the second week of January. So we might bump some of our conversations out to February, where we are looking at some theme updates around then. Sorry, Jenna, I cut you off there. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a UW theme update early January. At least that's when it's scheduled currently. That could get pushed back, but early January. But it would not be anything that would change the look or feel of anything in the editing environment for you. It's changing things on the back end for our developers. However, it is something that could cause things to break. So we're doing a lot of testing right now to just make sure that everything's working. But as there could be something that maybe we didn't catch before that release, there might be some, something that we might want to talk about that second week if there's anything that, one run through a fix or something like that with folks. But otherwise, we don't have a lot that would be coming up around that time, so we might just end up pushing it out to February.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, was that, like, I know we're pushing some things out, but again, that's back end stuff, and I might, there's a window of updates where I might get some plugins updated in there, but I'll communicate out any significant changes then as well, and we can always chat in February about that as well. But like I said, as Jenna alluded to, we are doing some things on the back end for our theme updates that we are, I guess, cautiously excited about, because some of the changes that we're making in the back end are to address some of the requests that we have gotten for functionality and things like that, and we're trying to optimize the UW theme as much as we can to meet some of those needs. And so our developer, those of you who know Scott, has been doing a lot of work to enable that, and we're like Jenna said, we're testing, and we're pretty excited about that stuff, because if it works, it's going to be cool. So stay tuned for that. Let me think here. I don't like feeling like I'm missing something there. I'll dump the reminder in for tomorrow, like I said earlier, and we alluded to earlier. I do have the Learn with Matt tomorrow. Sorry, I'm trying to paste this into here, and apparently there was way too many links in there, or too many words in there. I've Learned with Matt tomorrow. I'm just basically going to go over homepage design. And honestly, I just thought people might want to just tune in and watch me do this via create pages, and just how my thought process when I'm creating a page. And we're doing it through Zoom, so that way you all can interact with me a little bit easier than what we do with obviously the Lunch and Learn, where I try to keep it a little more controlled with questions via the chat versus unmuting and talking, just because I don't want to have to manage all the muting and unmuting that might happen there. But for tomorrow, I just thought, let's have some conversation and talk about it a little bit more. gosh, that's about it. Any other thoughts? Oh wait, Phil has chimed in. There is a 5.9, so that'll be a significant version update. So yeah, so it looks like WordPress core will have some updates in January at the earliest, it looks like. So we won't tinker with that maybe until February, just because we want to test it out and make sure that we get all the security updates, the security patches as well in place. Although every time we patch WordPress, almost the next day, a security patch happens. So we end up still having to patch things on our end as well.
Yeah, Matt, and this is Phil here, but yeah, that's exactly what the point is that we were going to be. It originally was supposed to be something like December 14th for that core 5.9. But yeah, they pushed it all the way. January 25th now is the date they list, which I'm very glad they didn't decide to jump it in there right before Christmas and all that. So yeah, we'll keep you folks posted exactly what Matt said. We give it some time to simmer, and we'll see if we don't go quickly on this update because maybe there are some concerns. We'll see what's actually in it when they release it. Then there's usually, if there are security issues that come up that affect our versions, of course, we will be on those very quickly, which doesn't affect your experience very much. Those security patches are pretty quick and painless in most cases. But the major version change we'll take our time with it, make sure we don't totally miss anything.
Well, and we always have to be careful because of the fact that WordPress now uses a specific editor interface. For those of you who are familiar with it, they use the Gutenberg editor interface. A lot of things are built for the Gutenberg editor interface. We don't use it because of issues that it had with accessibility when it first came out, and essentially now the UW theme is built for what it's built for. So there's always those types of things that we have to watch out for as well, that nothing unforeseen has a bad interaction with the theme that we use. So I like it when other people talk. You guys always hear my voice. I like it when the rest of the team gets involved. Okay, so I guess we'll call it there. I think that's it for the updates and information. I don't think there's anything else really to touch on. That's really it. So again, learn with Matt tomorrow. Limited support starting the week of the 20th for various holiday vacations. Back in full strength the first week of January, and then we'll kind of push on from there with things that we want to hopefully get done. And we'll always communicate with you guys whenever anything untowards is happening with either the service or with the theme or anything like that, just in case some things do break or we see any issues happening. And then, I mean, thank you to all of you, because I know usually when something's not working right, you guys know how to get in touch with me really fast. So I do appreciate that, because I mean, sometimes I'm not working in that space and we won't see those issues as fast as you all do, because I mean, you guys are much more power users of this than we are. So don't hesitate to reach out if you feel like something's not working right. So gosh, have a good holiday. Have safe travels if you're going to be having them. And I guess again, to end the year, thank you all for everything. We appreciate all of you. This audience has been, and this user base has been a lot of fun to work with, and it makes this service very successful because of the fact that you all are very easy and pleasant to work with. It's fun when I get to interact with all of you, and hopefully we don't upset you all too much. But anyways, have good holidays and have a good new year, and we will talk to you guys on the other side of 2022. So take care, everybody, and we'll see you soon.